Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here with another COVID-19 legal update. So I haven't spoken about the PPP loan program for a while, and mostly because it more or less is what it is. Right now though, there is some big news, and the big news is that the United States Congress has decided and passed with a single dissenting vote in the House and unanimously in the Senate legislation called the Payroll Protection Program Flexibility Act, and the president has not indicated that he will sign it, but he also hasn't indicated that he will veto it. I highly suspect that he will sign it within the next 24 to 48 hours. So what does the PPP for Flexibility Act do? Well, it addresses many of the concerns that small business owners were having regarding the PPP in light of things from shutdown orders, difficulty of getting employees back, and things of that nature. So the top line news is that the repayment period has been extended, or the use period rather, has been extended from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. But there is a hard deadline of December 31st. So if you apply for a loan, which you must do by June 30th, you have to have used the funds by December 31st, or those funds used after December 31st won't be eligible for forgiveness. The other big news is that it has dropped the payroll requirement from 75% of the funds used to 60% of the funds used. Now, it hasn't added any new categories of what the funds can be used for. It's still primarily for things like payroll, primarily, and for rent, utilities, mortgage payments, things of that nature. So the uses of the funds haven't changed, just the mix of how much has to be paid. Now, the businesses also have 24 weeks in which to restore the workforce levels to what they were pre-COVID-19. That is going to be a problem for many businesses. Some businesses are struggling to be able to get employees to come back. Many of those employees are making more money on unemployment than they were on their wages or salary when they were working for the business. So there are some things that can happen. There are new exceptions that would allow for full forgiveness of the loans and loan proceeds if wage and employees levels are not fully restored. So what are some of those exceptions? What are those exceptions? If you as an employee are able to document that you cannot, that you've made good faith offers to employees to return and those offers were rejected, if you document that, you may be able to have the exception for forgiveness. So if you don't use all of the loan funds or something along those lines, you can still apply for forgiveness. Now, the SBA had announced that earlier, I believe in May, but this act now codifies that. It moves it from regulation and regulatory guidance into legislation and law. The act also says that if it cannot find qualified employees and cannot restore business operations to their pre-COVID-19 levels, they can still apply for full forgiveness, assuming all of the other requirements for forgiveness are met. So it gives a little bit of flexibility to employers when they are having difficulty getting staff or returning to full operations. The full operations limitation is being posited out there because there are still quite a few states where reopening is very early in the process, or many businesses remain shut down as non-essential or are unable to operate for whatever reason. And the longer that period goes on, the more difficult it is going to be for employers to use their PPP loan proceeds for wages and things like that, because they're simply not going to be able to operate at full capacity. Some of them are limited to 50% and some even 25% capacity. So the Congress is trying to provide some flexibility for employers to be able to do that. So there is the flexibility that is there. The other key thing is that anybody who applies for a new loan will have their loan repayment for anything that's not forgiven. That loan repayment will be extended from 2 years to 5 years. So it's pretty helpful in that respect. So those are the functionalities that we're looking at. Those are the big changes that we're looking at. As I said before, I believe the president will sign this probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. Recording this on June 4th. So I expect that to be the case, particularly in light of the near unanimous opinion of Congress that this was needed. I don't think it's not necessarily going to cost the government any sort of more money or anything like that. It just is providing some flexibility for employers to figure things out. Do want to remind employers, work with your payroll company or work with your accountant to make sure that you're documenting what you need to document in order to ensure payment of or to ensure that you are qualified for forgiveness of your loan so that you don't end up in a repayment period. So if you have any questions, please give us a call. We're doing our best to keep up with this. Be sure you hit the subscribe button down below because then you'll get our other videos as we make them available. In the meantime, stay safe out there and let's get reopened. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.